Welcome to another episode of VHS Odyssey. Today we're just going to run through the top 10 sales for VHS, for demo tapes, and for Betamax tapes. I feel it's especially appropriate to start doing Betamax tapes as well, considering this week our top tape, the highest sale for the entire week. That was last week. This is going to be from March the 3rd to March the 9th. The top tape sale for that bracket would have been a Betamax tape. So let's jump in and have a look at these tapes. So number 10, we'll be counting down from 10 as the lowest sale to number 1 as the highest sale. So at number 10, our top VHS, sealed VHS, was Pokemon I Choose You. Next up, we had a Rafe. This is an early Charlie Sheen film, crazy 80s film that I saw a few years ago, and it's kind of amazing, just really cheesy, insane 80s sort of stuff going on. So that was a best offer, and it finally went for $350 US. Next is a signed Masters of the Universe, signed by Dolph Lundgren, so that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, not much to say about that. Next up, we have Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a CGC box, 9.4. And the seal looks like an A+ seal. Next up is a box, and this says it was 41 tapes of sealed Charizard Pokemon number 15 tapes. And this is one thing that I think we need to bear in mind when you're collecting 90s tapes, is that people are still selling boxes full of these things on eBay. So do we know how valuable they are? Is this Charizard a valuable tape? You know, maybe there's enough demand. Pokemon's a huge franchise, so maybe there's enough demand to make these valuable, but how many of these boxes will people find? How many of these sealed tapes are out there? And yeah, these are sort of questions that I would ask myself before I go ahead and, purchase a graded Charizard Pokemon tape. Next up is a lot of 4 Star Wars tapes. So we see 3 Star Wars and 1 Empire Strikes Back for $495. Oh yeah, and that box of Charizard went for $495.95. And this lot of 4 Star Wars tapes went for $495.95. So it's a tie. Next is a tape that I was pretty interested in because I looked high and low and I couldn't find much information about this. So it does seem that this is a very rare demo tape. I don't believe there was ever a wide release of this or a full run of this tape. Just the demo tape seems to exist. There's scant information about it, and it's also a very late tape, so 2007. So, most tapes had phased out by 2005, 2006. I was super interested in this tape, but somebody snatched it up for $500. Next is a Pokemon Mewtwo, the first movie, Pokemon the first movie VHS tape. It's an IGS case. And again, maybe this is rare. I just feel like these Pokemon tapes are very mass produced. So I'm always wondering about what are these really worth and if this is a good price. Potentially. I'm not really in the market for these, so I'm not looking around. But I would be cautious of spending too much money at this point on a Pokemon tape. And we have a Goonies that went for $1,100. So I do believe you are ideally looking for wraparound watermarks with this one, but it looks like a very nice tape, and Goonies is obviously very sought after in the VHS community, so there you go. And then our highest tape for VHS this week would have been this Back to the Future. Now the seller says the major features here is this Scotch sticker and this MCATM printed on the seal here, which supposedly makes this a very sought after, rare and early Back to the Future. I'd love to know very clear and definitively more information about, which exactly are first release copies. Do you want the wraparound watermarks? Do you want these with the Scotch and the MCATM? It'd be nice. That's what I hope this hobby moves towards, is sort of a database where you have very clearly defined information about which are exactly first releases, second releases, or where there's gray areas that people don't know, but just to have definitive answers for this. Maybe some people have in the community, and they're making their decisions off of information that we don't all have. But I feel like at this point, there's no centralized place where you can go to find this sort of information. But I believe it would be coming as we progress. Anyway, so that's it for VHS. We're going to just jump over to beta and keep going. So our total for VHS sales was $5,788.95. Last week's total was $7,576.66. So we see we're actually down from last week. I'll put this on a graph soon, and then we can see it go up and down and have a nice visual representation of what's happening. Okay, but we're moving on to Betamax now. So at number 10 in Betamax, we have Crawl Space, a Klaus Kinski movie. That went for $51. Next up is a Taxi Driver. I see this one has the grid of RCA watermarks down the back. That's very nice. It does have the drill hole in the top. Personally, I don't like the drill hole. It just visually makes me feel like the tape has been killed, or I imagine it going through the tape and then it can't even be watched. I just feel like that's severe damage to me. So the drill hole I would be very reluctant to purchase a tape with the drill hole. But some people seem to not mind. We have a Grease for $51, went for $51, so a tie between the Taxi Driver and Grease. Let's see if this one has the drill hole. This one also has the drill hole. I've heard many theories about the drill hole. I guess the one that I tend to believe is that when things didn't move, so especially I think that's why we see it on beta, if stock didn't move, then they would get sent back and then they would drill that hole in the top and then it can't be sold again. But I've heard other theories as well. So next up is a Three Stooges. We see this one also has the RCA watermarks on the back. That Grease actually had the waterfall, Paramount waterfall on the back. Lovely. I love watermarks that cover a lot of space on the tape. It just gives it a lot of character. Then we have a Clash of the Titans, which went for $79.95. A very nice MGM big box. Next up is a Norma Rae. We see there is a tear in the seal, but it's a magnetic, so this is a pretty old tape. And that one was a best offer, which went for $80 US. Then we have The Seduction of Joey Tynan. I'm not familiar with this film, so I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Alan Alda, Meryl Streep. Nice looking MCA with that rainbow, MCA rainbow logo. I see it doesn't have the MCA rainbow watermarks, but I believe even the earlier ones didn't have the watermarks, so potentially a very nice tape. Then Valley of the Dolls. This is one that I wanted to bid on, but ended up not doing that. Just a very cool film. This would be Sharon Tate's biggest film, who was murdered by Charles Manson's cult. So I just feel like this one has a real history, and being an old magnetic tape as well, it just feels like a really good one to own. I haven't actually seen Valley of the Dolls. So in our second last place, or actually second place, we have two Elvira tapes. That is The Silent Scream and Growing Pains, and they went for $150. And then our tape of the week, really, was this Friday the 13th, which went for a large amount, $3,200 US. This is a Video Sanctum tape. Video Sanctum seems to have a ton of tapes. Every time I look, there's new tapes by Video Sanctum. This also has the drill hole and a very large tear on the back. Would you have spent this much for Friday the 13th? Betamax? I feel like with that drill hole, I just couldn't evaluate this as a legitimate Friday the 13th. It's just as a personal thing. Maybe I'll change over time that feeling, but for me, the drill hole just sort of almost nullifies the video for me. I just feel like it's dead. Okay, so that was our Betamax tapes, and the total for this week was $3,943, which was primarily, as you can see, the Friday the 13th, and the rest made up not even $1,000. Okay, so we're going to move over to the demos and screeners and just go through all of it and potentially just put it all in one video just so that it's one and done. So in our number 10 spot, we have Tremors 3, which was the best offer, which finally went for $60 US. Then we have The Others, which was in a graded case, and that went for $66. Great film that I remember seeing back in 2001. It stands out because I was in London at the time, and just to have a good memory of seeing that movie on the big screen and thinking it was pretty scary, and this would be a nice demo tape to have. Next up is a Four Brothers, which went for $75 US. Then we have an X-Files. I was sort of interested in this one. I just feel like it being the pilot specifically makes it a pretty neat tape to have. Then we have SpongeBob SquarePants Sea Stories. Very nice cover and a promo tape. So I guess these were episodes. You have Shanghai, Gary Takes a Bath, Hooky, Life of Crime, Pickles. So I think if you're a SpongeBob fan, this is a very nice presenting tape. Just the whole thing is basically SpongeBob SquarePants. It's like a giant, you're just getting like a square SpongeBob SquarePants. Next up we have Tower of Terror, which went for $86. I see Kirsten Dunst is in that one. I've never heard of this Kirsten Dunst film, and I've actually watched most of her films. I was sort of on a Kirsten Dunst kick once, so that's very interesting that this is a early Kirsten Dunst film. Then we have a Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut. I think a lot of these tapes it's not so much about it being a great content specifically, a great movie, a great show. It's just that it has that property association. So Donkey Kong just being the game and just the strength of that association of the name to that property of Donkey Kong, I think gives this tape that extra value, which you see a lot in these promotional tapes, and we're going to see that again. So here we have Lilo and Stitch, big clamshell box, Disney box for $119.99. Then we have a Donnie Darko classic. That would be a very good screener to have. I see it went for 250 Canadian, which $185.62. Patrick Swayze and Jake Gyllenhaal. And Jake Gyllenhaal just did a remake of Roadhouse with both these actors. So it's just a neat thing about Donnie Darko that it has these two actors together who would then be in movies that basically the same movie, a remake of the same movie. Our top screener was Mortal Kombat for $189.95. And this is another film where this is not a great film, it's not a great movie, but the strength of this property, again with that video game association, just like Donkey Kong Country, just gives it that extra appeal. That it's the same with Mario Brothers. I feel like just because of the property having that iconic value, the movie itself just retains all that interest and appeal. So that was the screeners, and the total was $1,032.56. Of these films, I think the ones I would like the most, probably Donnie Darko as a film is my favorite film. This SpongeBob tape, visually, I think is the coolest looking one. And the Mortal Kombat tape, even though I feel like this is not a great film, I also just have so much positive associations to the Mortal Kombat franchise that this tape has quite a bit of appeal to me as well. Thank you for joining VHS Odyssey and this breakdown of the top tapes for last week. We're going to keep doing this, and if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. Same name, VHS Odyssey on Instagram. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Probably later this week, I'm going to bring out another video with some unboxing. I got some tapes in here that we're going to open up and have a look at the quality of the seal, and talk a bit about the tapes and why I bought those. And yeah, that'll be coming up sometime this week as well. So I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.